Welcome to the HD burner account. Don't you know I love haters? Now, Welcome to DERRY was a great series, very successful. I was gonna do a live, but I said nah, I don't feel like it. I'm probably gonna do a live later on the Welcome to HDiiTV channel. It basically brought back the fright of and the creepiness at the same time, especially with the children. You thought at the beginning that the children they were going to be the main children, the main focal point of the story, and then it ended up not even being that. They were all ripped to shreds in the theater, and then that's when you of course got her, which she was just creeped out like the whole time. She was creeped out the whole time. She played a great part in this by her having the scares that really made it more intriguing. It made it fun to see the terror in her eyes because it made you believe this character might not make it at all. And that's what I loved about it. You know, you had, of course, Marge. She came later. You had, of course, Dick Hallorann, who, of course, we knew from The Shining. I did not read the books like that. I read excerpts of it. The Shining book really was kind of different, I believe, from the movie. I don't believe Hallorann passed away in the book, but in the movie he was unalive. So when Dr. Sleep came out, it kind of brought you around the perspective of how powerful The Shining was with Danny, and then of course it was with Hallorann. We saw in the series Hallorann basically made us see how powerful he was, that it went to the point where everyone is like, man, we got to see another Shining remade. Do I want another Shining remade? You can, because I really don't want a Shining. I really would want something focused on Hallorann and his power, because even from the grave, he's still able to communicate telepathically with Danny in Dr. Sleep, and then of course the girl Abra, who I hope we get to see her cross over into the It thing down the line, because I'm really getting the case that after this series is over with, they're gonna go to It Chapter 3, which will which they could use by saying, okay, well, one of the eggs the losers didn't destroy hatched, and then you had another It, and then you can write another story from that. You know, the show was like the show was very engaging, very scary and creepy. You know, like it was on some crap in this series. Like no one ever expected it to be this crazy. No one expected that. I didn't expect it, but it was great to see the characters in the beginning, to see how they were messing with trying to figure out the chick name. Was it Sesky? No, that wasn't her. Okay, it was Lily. I don't know why I was thinking of Lola, but Lily being scared and witnessing all the unaliving was great work by Pennywise. Pennywise was really strategic on this show. He attacked her a lot because he knew that she would be sent to another place, and he knew eventually his person who he was making as his daughter, who he was lying to for years, he of course was trying to get her to lure kids, which we saw in the flashback. She was luring kids down there for him to eat and tear up. So she tried to run away one time, and then that's when he opened the door. She opened the door, and then Pennywise hugged her and everything, because Pennywise knew, okay, let me use her to bring some more kids. Now, what I found out from the lore is that Pennywise is really a woman, which of course you saw that in It Chapter 2, because it was laying eggs and all of that. It just took a form of the clown, because a clown basically warrants fun, laughter, having, catering to children, and it just, it really showed how far they wanted to go in depth with this story. We got to see Will's dad. We got to see Mike's dad, Will. I believe they retconned by making Ronnie a character. Ronnie was if you read the book, Ronnie was just a regular girl. Veronica, her name was Veronica Grogan. She basically was unalived in the story, like it's one of the people unalived. She didn't have anything to do with Will, or we never knew who Mike's mom was. So the director, what's his name? The director, Andy Muschietti, him, Bernstein, and all of them, Jason Fuchs and all of that, they basically they kind of retconned that in the series so Mike could have a mom. So now that's a part of the story. And plus you could play with it like that, because I believe that there's different versions of it in the universe. I believe it's different, like how you got the multiverse, how you got the multiverse, how you got lines going here, lines going there. I believe there's a loop going on, and it's ending the same way. Pennywise is trying to figure out a way how to get through that loop. I believe everything that's happening with the losers from It Chapter 1, It Chapter 2, all of that to me is happening simultaneously. And I believe it is trying to figure out a way how to break that simultaneous effect, and he's trying to basically create a new line where he unalives all the losers, everybody in their family tree, and he continues with his unaliving of others. I mean, yeah. So that was crazy. I love the scene that they had in the market. In the market, you saw Its Power had all of the town folk in the daze, and he was able to manipulate their mind to not see him, where he could go in and attack the children. The pickle jar thing with her dad, of course, her dad being chopped up because he was unalived in the pickle jars. Of course, using Will to see his own unaliving that he was burning. That wasn't his dad. Everyone thought it was his dad. I'm like, no, that wasn't his dad. Leroy was in It Chapter 1. If y'all remember, Will passed away in a fire with his wife, which we're gonna probably retcon this as Ronnie. That's what they're gonna do. Will basically had a big role in this. He kind of took the place of what Mike should have been in It Chapter 1. That's my only plight I had with It Chapter 1 was Mike was the one who figured everything out in the book. It wasn't Ben. Ben was helping, but it was mainly Mike. Like, Mike figured out what was going on, how this was going, what was this, and they went from there. Shout out to the kid playing Will and Ronnie. They played a great role. I love the scene where she was inside of her mother, because remember, her mother was unalive from the pregnancy and she broke out of there, but she was inside of its stomach, which was very clever. And it played this perfectly. Like, he didn't just unalive you, he waited till the fear was there and he was able to soak in it. And he was letting Lily just continuously, play with her mind, because the rightness of her fear was bringing him in. Like, man, this fear, like it sautés. That's why he went after children more than he did adults. The General Shaw. General Shaw, I knew from the get-go, I already saw the path he was trying to go in. He was trying to control it. You can't control it. You can't control it at all. So I knew what he was trying to do. I knew what he was trying to do. I knew what he was working to go towards. Scarsdale came back as it himself. Skarsgård, excuse me. And he did a hell of a job. Like, he was great. I loved Will's mom, Taylor Page. She was very, very key to this. I wish we could figure out what happened to her. She might have left the granddad probably after Will passed away. She probably either passed away or she probably left before that. I wanted to see Dick Halloran. I wanted to see him more. His power was crazy. Like, he put it in a mindscape, which I call a mindscape. Like, basically put him in another part of the mind. Richie did a hell of a job sacrificing himself to be able to come back and help the team push the artifact in to create the barrier for it to go back. We saw it body dissipate and the three lights went back to possibly rest for another 27 years. So now the next season we're going to go back. We're probably going to get to see everybody's parents, Lily's parents. We're going to see how her dad passed away. We're going to see a lot of stuff. I give this series 4 out of 4 stars. I loved the pacing. I loved the jump scares. I love that they went there. Like, the first scene when they was in the car, like I was showing the kid with the eye, was insane. Because they left Derry, then they came back to Derry. So he basically left out of Derry to grab the kid and bring him back, which was crazy. That was crazy. I loved how Ronnie stepped up. I loved how she beat some sense into Lily to wake up. That's what we needed. Phil passing away in there. I thought Phil was going to be there a while, and he wasn't. He was unalived. I loved at the end how they showed Richie. Like, he showed a poster of Richie. and told her about her son in the future, Marge's son. So we know that she named him Richie, excuse me, after the love of her life, which was dope. Maddie, of course, ended up like Georgie, and they were trolling with him in the movie theater. When he was in the movie, then he looked and he started smiling, and then that's when the baby came. Some are saying that was one of the babies that it conceived, which I wouldn't doubt. And then I loved it because you really didn't see it a lot. You didn't see it a lot in this story, which I love. Because for the story to be great, you can't have it in the damn story all the time. Because it loses its fear. Like, that's what happened with Freddy. Like, Freddy and Jason. Like, you've seen them so much that it kind of became, you became numb to it. You know. Lily, we had Ronnie, of course, we had Marge, we had Hank, Hank Grogan, you know, who I wanted to slap the hell out of. It is because of him that all them soldiers got unalived in there, but you knew we had to have that scene happen, because if you know in the book, you know, they make this take place, you know, later, when it was earlier, like I think in the 30s or the 20s or something. That's when the black spot got destroyed by races and stuff, and of course it was there, transformed as a bird in the book, picking up some of the racist people and the blacks, taking them, feeding on them and stuff. So that's I like how they incorporated that. A lot of people wanted like the same as the novel. It's kind of hard to do it just the same as the novel. You want to try to age it up, like the 80s for the movie of It, and then of course later on like 90s 2000s when it came to the It chapter 2, excuse me. And then of course you had Dr. Sleep showing you more of the Shining. So some are just saying they want Stephen King to make the Dark Tower universe, which I would love. I want characters like Abra in Dr. Sleep to come back. I want Dr. Halloran. Well, not Doctor, but I want Halloran to come back. You know, I want them to be able to make this into something. You know. The power that they have, you know, I love that. You know, I love how you incorporated the Indians in it. The Indians who were there, who tried to warn the settlers of it, and they just didn't listen, because they don't listen today. White folks don't listen to shit. They always think they God and then try to play God, and then when it backfires on them, they try to ask everybody for help when people told they dumb ass don't do that. Like we got this bum in office, like we told y'all. But I love the scene between Will's dad and the general. Classic scene, loved it. It brought a lot of tension. He was looking at them like, is you crazy? You can't weaponize this thing. What are you talking about? I like how Will was on the phone, how It was playing as Ronnie, and then changed the voice, like changed certain things, and then came out of nowhere talking about, say it. And then you saw it open his mouth, the unalive lights. Excuse me, put him in a trance. You know, I love that. Love that. Love that. So, you know, I love that. You know, I thought that was dope. Love the direction they went in. I love the the talk between Will and his mother, Will's dad, Leroy, and then Charlotte, how they went at it. I loved it. So we understood why Leroy was the way he was. We understand now why. Why he was what he was to Mike. And then Mike carried that in It Chapter 2 when he brought everybody back. But Mike was doing all of that in Chapter 1. They tried to put it in, make it like Ben, but in the book, it was Mike. You had, of course, Richie. All of these guys come back. You know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I felt like it showed you like the power it has. It shows you how stupid the government is, as always. 4 out of 4. What we're gonna see in the second season, like I said, I believe is gonna be, they're gonna go 27 years in the past. They're basically gonna go to the past each time, and it's gonna be defeated. And then I think they're gonna come out with Chapter 3. I think they're gonna, because they're making too much money off of it, and you already done told the stories. I could see them doing the Dark Tower universe, incorporating all of these outcomes. You know. So of course the Dark Tower universe, you know, this is the centerpiece of the multiverse of Stephen King. That's what I'm saying. I believe it's a multiverse. I think within the Dark Tower, it has succeeded. I believe he's unalived the losers or other people in other dimensions, but then failed because somebody else beat them. I think this is what I think. I feel like it has been in every type of cycle, every type of time loop, every type of possibility. But the ending of the possibility is he loses, whether it's to somebody that's alive. There may be a universe where Will survives, but his granddaddy didn't survive. And then he had a son, Mike. Mike probably didn't survive, or he did survive with Mike. I believe it's that. And I believe we're going to see them create a part 3, which is going to show another version of other people, which I believe they will do. And you can center it around the Dark Tower. That's all you got to do. Because you got all the novels, they're all a part of the shared universe. Like you have Father Callahan, the priest from Salem's Lot, finds his way into Midworld. Randall Flagg, the antagonist from The Stand, appears as Walter O'Dim, the man in black. Jake Chambers, a boy from our world who joins Roland, connected to a younger version of himself in the heart in Atlantis. You got Pennywise and Mandarin. Cosmic entities from it exist within the larger Dark Tower cosmology. So you could put all of them together. Of course, you have the series' main books are like The Gunslinger, The Drawing of the Three, The Wastelands, Wizard and Glass, Wolves of the Kala, Song of Susanna, The Dark Tower. So, you know, there's 8 novels. Like I said, you got the Lord, you got Like you had, of course, It, the Stephen King book, you know. Yeah, so basically it's telling you the novel is told through a narrative alternating between the two time periods. So basically you got chapter 1 and 2 at the same time happening. And some of it happens in 57 to 58. You know, during the rainstorm in Derry, Maine, 6-year-old boy named Georgie sails a paper boat along the rainy streets before it washes down a storm drain. Looking in the drain, Georgie encounters the clown and introduces himself as Pennywise, the dancing clown. Georgie, despite knowing he should not talk to strangers, is enticed by Pennywise to reach into the drain and retrieve his boat, and then rips his arm off, and Georgie is unalive. The following June, an overweight 11-year-old boy named Ben Hanscom is harassed by a bully named Henry Bowers and his gang on the last day of school, escaping into the marshy wasteland known as the Barrens. There, Ben befriends an asthmatic hypochondriac named Eddie Kasprak and stuttering Bill Dansbro. Georgie's elder brother, the three boys later befriend fellow misfits Richie Tazier, Stanley Stan Uris, and Beverly Marsh and refer to themselves as the Losers Club. And the summer draws on, the losers each encounter Pennywise and terrifying manifestations, a mummy on the frozen canal to Ben, a fountain of blood that only children can see from Beverly Sink, a rotting leper to Eddie, drowned corpse to Stan, and a frightening phantom of Georgie to Bill. Meanwhile, the increasingly unhinged and sadistic Bowers begins focusing his attention on his African American neighbor, Mike Hallen, and his father. Bowers unalives Mike's dog and chases the terrified boy into the Barrens, where he joins the losers in driving Bowers' gang off in a rock fight, leaving a humiliating Bowers promising revenge. Mike becomes a member of the Losers Club after revealing own encounter with Pennywise in the form of a carnivorous bird. From Mike's historical scrapbook, the Losers realizes that it is an ancient monster with a firm grip on the town. Following further encounters, the losers construct a makeshift smoke hole that Richie and Mike used to hallucinate its origins as an ancient extraterrestrial who came to Earth, beginning a cycle of hunting for 1 year, followed by a 27-year-long hibernation. Eddie is hospitalized by Bowers and several of his friends, and Beverly witnesses one of the bullies, Patrick Hostetter, consumed by it in the form of a mass of a flying leech. The losers discover a message from it written in Patrick's blood, warning them that it will unalive them if they interfere, in the hope that Silver can wound it. Ben make 2 silver slugs out of a silver dollar, and the losers enter an abandoned house where Eddie, Bill, and Richie had previously encountered it to attempt to unalive it. They managed to wound it with the silver while it is in form of a werewolf. Deeming the losers a threat, it manipulates Bowers into unaliving his abusive father, then chasing the losers into the sewers to unalive them, where he is accompanying fellow bullies. Victor Vic Chris and Reginald Belch Huggins are both unalived by it. Bowers is lost in the sewers. In the sewers, Bill performs the ritual of Chud in an attempt to face it in the Macroverse, the alternate universe where it is from. There he meets the monsters Antithesis Maturin, an ancient turtle that created the universe. Bill learns that it can only be defeated during a battle of wills, in which he emerged victorious. In doing so, he sees its true form and its place of origin, the Deadlights. After the battle, not knowing if they unalived it or not, the losers get lost in the sewers. to try and regain a sense of direction. Well, basically they're saying, let's see, okay. To try and regain a sense of direction, Beverly has intercourse with each of the boys. So Beverly basically was HO. So not knowing they unallowed it or not, losers get lost in the sewers to try and regain their direction. Beverly has intercourse with each of the boys. Once they are safely out, the losers swear a blood oath to return to Derry should the threat resurface. Bowers, having lost his sanity by the time he escaped the sewers into a nearby river, is institutionalized after being blamed for the town's child's unaliving. So again, Bowers, of course, y'all remember was in this one they changed his character in the series. He was the like the dad, or the dad or whatever. But it was a mixture. They kind of moved all over the place, but they had Beverly have intercourse with everybody. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So now in 84 and 85, in July 84, 3 youths brutally attacked a young, homosexual man named Adrian Melton and threw him off a bridge, where Adrian's partner and one of the attackers both see a mysterious clown. Adrian is found unalived and mutilated, and the teens are arrested and charged with his unaliving. When a string of violent child unalivings begin in Derry again, Mike Hanlon, who is now the town's librarian, calls up the 6 former member of the Losers Club to remind them of their childhood promise to return if the things start again. Bill is now a successful horror writer, living with his actress wife, Audra. Beverly is a fashion designer married to an abusive man named Tom Rogan. Eddie runs a limousine and rental company and has married a codependent woman similar to his hypochondriac mother. Richie Tauzier is a disc jockey. Ben Hascom has lost weight and is a successful but single and lonely architect. And Stan Uris is a wealthy accountant. Prior to Mike's phone call, all of the losers had completely forgotten each other and the trauma of their childhood, burying the horror of their encounters with it. All of the losers agreed to return to Derry except for Stan, who unalived himself in terror of facing it again. The losers meet for lunch, where Mike reminds them that the creature awakens roughly every 27 years for 12 to 16 months at a time, feeding on children before going into slumber again. The group decides to unalive it once and for all. At Mike's suggestion, each person explores different parts of Derry to help restore their memories, while exploring Eddie, Richie, Beverly, and Ben are faced with manifestations of it. Eddie is Belch Huggins and childhood friends in leprous and zombified forms. Richie is Paul Bunyan's statue. Beverly as the witch from Hansel and Gretel in her childhood home, and Ben is Dracula in the Derry library. Bill finds his childhood bicycle, Silver, and brings it to Mike's. In the meantime, Audra, who is worried about Bill, traveled to Derry. Beverly's husband arrived as well, intending to unalive Beverly, who has finally vanquished his power over her, and Henry Bowers escapes from the mental asylum with help from it. Henry confronts Mike at the library, but Mike escapes, seriously injured. It instructs Henry to unalive the rest of the losers, but Henry is unalive while attacking Eddie. It then appeared to Tom and orders him to capture Audra, bringing Audra to his lair, where Audra becomes catatonic. And Tom, seeing it in its true form, collapses with shock. Bill, Ben, Beverly, Richie, and Eddie learn that Mike is near unalived and realize they are being forced into another confrontation with it. They descend into the sewers and use their strength as a group to send energy to a hospitalized Mike, who fights off a nurse that is under the control of it. They reach its lair, and the clown transforms in its true form, a giant mutated spider-like creature. Bill and Richie enter the mine through the ritual of Chud, but they get lost in it. Eddie injures it by spraying his asthma medication down his throat, using the monster's powers of imagination to believe he is spraying acid in his mouth, which works. It bites off Eddie's arm, unaliving him. It runs away to tend to his injuries, but Bill, Richie, and Ben chase after and find that it has laid eggs. Ben stays behind to destroy the eggs while Bill and Richie head toward their final confrontation with it. Bill surprises and attacks it before managing to wound its heart. The spider attempts to bargain with the group, but the losers collectively beat, stomp, and dismember the creature, unaliving it. The group meets up to head out of its lair, and although they try to bring Audra and Eddie's bodies with them, they are forced to leave Eddie behind. They realize that the scars on their hands from their blood pact have disappeared, indicating that their ordeal is finally over. At the same time, the worst storm in Maine's history sweeps through DERRY, and the downtown area collapses. Mike concludes that DERRY is unaliving. The losers return home, gradually begin to forget about it. DERRY, each other all over again. Mike's memories of the events of that summer also begin to fade, as well as any of the records he had written down previously, much to his relief, and he considers starting a new life elsewhere. Ben and Beverly leave together and become a couple, and Richie returns to Cali. Bill is the last to leave DERRY. Before he goes, he takes Audra, still catatonic, for a ride on Silver, which awakens her from the catatonia, and they share a kiss. So basically, this happened in the 50s when they were young, and Mike is with his dad. His dad wasn't gone. You understand what I'm saying? So, but them to have Beverly have have intercourse with all of them, that's crazy. That is crazy. That's crazy. See, Mike was with his father. See, they created the granddad and the dad and said that he was gone. They got rid of the dad and stuff. So the book and the movies are like, and the show is nothing alike. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's how I go. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about it. But that was the real story of it. That was the book. You know, that's the novel. It's a big book. Like, it's 1,138 pages. You know, I heard from people it's a very hard read. So, but yeah, that just shows you Stephen King's mind, where his mind be at. But yeah, the Dark Tower series, they could flip this into something, but we'll see. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this, hit the notification bell to select all to receive upcoming notifications. If you love what you hear, you can donate to the page. Go to the description box, hit that link to the Cash App to donate. Thank y'all for listening, man, and shout out to Mike and Ronnie.